Esther chapter 2. After these things, when the anger of King Ahasuerus had abated, he remembered Vashti, and what she had done, and what had been decreed against her. Then the king's servants who attended him said, Let beautiful young virgins be sought out for the king, and let the king appoint commissioners in all the provinces of his kingdom, to gather all the beautiful young virgins to the harem in the citadel of Susa, under custody of Haggai, the king's eunuch, who is in charge of the women. Let their cosmetic treatments be given them, and let the girl who pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti. This pleased the king, and he did so. Now there was a Jew in the citadel of Susa, whose name was Mordecai, son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, a Benjaminite. Kish had been carried away from Jerusalem among the captives carried away with King Jeconiah of Judah, whom King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon had carried away. Mordecai had brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his cousin, for she had neither father nor mother. The girl was fair and beautiful, and when her father and her mother died, Mordecai adopted her as his own daughter. So when the king's order and his edict were proclaimed, and when many young women were gathered in the citadel of Susa in custody of Haggai, Esther also was taken into the king's palace and put in custody of Haggai, who had charge of the women. The girl pleased him and won his favor, and he quickly provided her with her cosmetic treatments and her portion of food, and with 7 chosen maids from the king's palace, and advanced her and her maids to the best place in the harem. Esther did not reveal her people or kindred, for Mordecai had charged her not to tell. Every day Mordecai would walk around in front of the court of the harem to learn how Esther was and how she fared. The turn came for each girl to go in to King Ahasuerus after being 12 months under the regulations for the women, since this was the regular period of their cosmetic treatment, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with the perfumes and cosmetics for women. When the girl went in to the king, she was given whatever she asked for to take with her from the harem to the king's palace. In the evening she went in, then in the morning she came back to the second harem in custody of Shaashgaz, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of the concubines. She did not go in to the king again, unless the king delighted in her, and she was summoned by name. When the turn came for Esther, daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had adopted her as his own daughter, to go in to the king, she asked for nothing except what Haggai, the king's eunuch, who had charge of the women, advised. Now Esther was admired by all who saw her. When Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus in his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign, the king loved Esther more than all the other women. Of all the virgins, she won his favor and devotion, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king gave a great banquet to all his officials and ministers, Esther's banquet. He also granted a holiday to the provinces, and gave gifts with royal liberality. When the virgins were being gathered together, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. Now Esther had not revealed her kindred or her people, as Mordecai had charged her, for Esther obeyed Mordecai, just as when she was brought up by him. In those days, while Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthan and Teresh, 2 of the king's eunuchs, who guarded the threshold, became angry and conspired to assassinate King Ahasuerus. But the matter came to the knowledge of Mordecai, and he told it to Queen Esther. And Esther told the king in the name of Mordecai. When the affair was investigated and found to be so, both the men were hung on the gallows. It was recorded in the book of the annals in the presence of the king. 以斯帖记第2章。这事以后，亚哈随鲁王的愤怒止息，就想念瓦实提和他所行的，并怎样降旨办他。于是 王的侍臣对王说，不如为王寻找美貌的处女，王可以派官在国中的各省招聚美貌的处女，到书珊城的女院，交给掌管女子的太监西该，给他们当用的香品。王所喜爱的女子可以立为王后，代替瓦实提。王以这事为美，就如此行。书珊城有一个犹大人，名叫末底改，是便雅悯人基士的曾孙，示美的孙子，雅尔的儿子。从前巴比伦王尼布甲尼撒将犹大王耶哥尼亚和百姓从耶路撒冷掳去，末底改也在其内。末底改抚养他叔叔的女儿哈大沙，后名以斯帖，因为他没有父母。这女子又容貌俊美，他父母死了，末底改就收她为自己的女儿。王的谕旨传出，就招聚许多女子到书珊城，交给掌管女子的西该。以斯帖也送入王宫，交付西该。西该喜悦以斯帖，就恩待他，急忙给他需用的香品和他所当得的份，又派所当得的7个宫女服侍他，使他和他的宫女搬入女院上好的房屋。以斯帖未曾将籍贯宗族告诉人，因为末底改嘱咐他不可叫人知道。末底改天天在女院前边行走，要知道以斯帖平安不平安，并后事如何。众女子照例先洁净身体12个月，6个月用没药油，6个月用香料和洁身之物，满了日期，然后挨次进去见亚哈随鲁王。女子进去见王是这样，从女院到王宫的时候，凡他所要的都必给他。晚上进去，次日回到女子第2院，交给掌管妃嫔的太监沙甲。除非王喜爱他，再提名召他，就不再进去见王。末底改叔叔亚比孩的女儿，就是末底改收为自己女儿的以斯帖，按次序当进去见王的时候，除了掌管女子的太监西该所派定给他的，他别无所求。凡看见以斯帖的，都喜悦他。亚哈随鲁王第7年10月，就是提别月，以斯帖被引入宫见王。王爱以斯帖过于爱众女，他在王眼前蒙宠爱，比众处女更甚。王就把王后的冠冕戴在他头上，立他为王后，代替瓦实提。王因以斯帖的缘故，给众首领和臣仆设摆大筵席，又豁免各省的租税，并照王的后裔大颁赏赐。第2次招聚处女的时候，末底改坐在朝门，以斯帖照着末底改所嘱咐的，还没有将籍贯宗族告诉人，因为以斯帖遵末底改的命，如抚养他的时候一样。当那时候，末底改坐在朝门，王的太监中有2个守门的毕探和提列，恼恨亚哈随鲁王，想要下手害他。末底改知道了，就告诉王后以斯帖。以斯帖奉末底改的名报告于王，纠察这事，果然事实，就把2人挂在木头上，将这事在王面前写于历史上。